problems? Alumni? Any problem? Okay, good. Good. All right, here's what we're going to do today. We're going to spend about 20 minutes to an hour on some miscellaneous items. Mr. Tranger and myself. Mr. Bruder has anything he can chime in. Then we're going to ask, we have 6, 7, maybe 8 students who had jobs this summer. So on the panel, give you an opportunity to explain what their jobs were this summer. Give you an opportunity to ask questions of them. This is all designed for you to be thinking about now next summer. What you'd like to do. When I say what you'd like to do, that means if you haven't made plans already, if there are particular jobs in it that you would like to try to get, Mr. Tranger and I will be sitting down with you, each of you, by November. We'll have these first meeting, be about 15 minutes long, 20 minutes long. This really will help us work out the details. If you're a senior, we'll meet you over at Start State. If you're a junior, we'll meet you here. They're great sessions, right, alumni? They're great sessions. Yeah. Gives you a chance to take the matrix, take the profile, things whatever you fill out now. We'll talk to you about your first, second, third career choices. So we figure out what you want to do about even when you graduate college, what kind of career path you want. Mr. Bruner and I are going to talk today. We're just going to allow for some shadowing experiences from January to April. So we're going to be introducing that program. We'll give you an opportunity to do some shadowing. We'll let you know what the criteria is on that. We've had several students say Sarah, we've done shadowing experiences. This is all designed to help you kind of narrow down on what I want to do or what I want to be. If you're not sure, or if you think you're not sure, I'll give you, for instance, you want to be an engineer, and that's it. That's your number one choice. If you're struggling in math, you're going to have a big problem. I'll let you know that. But I'll let you talk to somebody who spent 40 years in engineering at Timken. They can tell you whether they think it's not me, because I'm not an engineer. I wasn't in math, but that doesn't mean anything. But it's all designed to make sure that you're going to try to make the best possible choices going forward. Now, say, well, big deal. I haven't filled my sophomore year of college to make my decision on my career path. Well, that's true. But 2 or 3 years goes by extremely fast. Part of this camp program, and maybe you'll have Sarah and Jacob Bowling at another meeting. They attended an offsite that we paid for. It's called Next Camp Next. I should sue them for taking our name. Maybe I could get some money out of them. But actually, the company already donates the name. So, but it's called Camp Next. And it listed about 8 training aids that they did during the full day on a Saturday, right? So Sarah and Jacob gave up their Saturday. We paid for it. But the feedback that came back is 90% of what they covered, we already cover in camp. Now this was done by outside professionals, right? People who do this for a career, for their career. Yeah. How many students were about 25, 30 people? And So I felt really good about that. So these kinds of things that we're talking about, apprenticeships, internships, profiles, resumes, shadowing, this, and it may not hit you now, but down the road, these are extremely valuable. And you can talk to some of our alumni too. Take advantage of that. And we'll actually have two on the panel today, Caitlin and Leah, and you can ask them questions. But, so anyway, that's what we'd like to do for the after the miscellaneous. So the first thing I like to do is, you're in about the 4th or 5th college visit already, right?
Yes.
For seniors?
Six.
How is the college visits?
6 when they did.
Good. We've already gone to, I'm sorry, backward. Everywhere but Walls to Malone so far, right? And that's out of 6 or 8 schools? Huh?
8 schools. Out of 8 schools,
Out
they
of
did
8 schools.
6.
So, this was our first year, right, Dennis? First year with the college program?
We did some.
Did some last year, but not already. Okay, but this is, it's obviously sanctioned by Mrs. Berner. They are great because it's my understanding when you get into your Fridays senior seminars in August, there's not a lot going on, and these visits become pretty valuable. So you'll get a chance next year to see all of these schools. The visits, I understand, are going well. Get there, you've got a whole day, half a day, right? There's tours, they're serving lunch, you have guest speakers. When you go to Malone, you'll see, I think, the Justine Chester graduate from College High School will greet you, I think, in Hiram, Akia. No, was it Akia Warner?
She came and said hello to us.
Yeah, Akia Warner, another alumni. So we try to get the alumni that are at the schools to meet with you to talk to you and answer any questions. That's another great advantage for camp. So take advantage of that next year. It's just like the shadowing and the job experiences. You just don't know. And you may have no heart set on school. And believe me, it's 6 or 7 years when I meet with students. So I met a student who wanted to go to Clemson. And I said, well, why do you want to go to Clemson? Because I like their school colors and their logo. She was dead serious. I laughed. I thought it was a joke, but she was dead serious. So that's the kind of stuff that, we try to avoid. We want you to have options, and those college visits are another way to show you. You got your heart set on college, and you walk into, say, a Hiram or a Mount Union or even a Cleveland State, you go, wow, this is pretty cool. And all of a sudden, you're making a turn, and you're looking at other schools, maybe in state or whatever. Okay. Profiles. Everybody has received a message about your profiles. Anybody who has not received a message about your profile? Okay. So, did you get a message on your profile? Yes. Okay. So you've all been assigned an individual to get those profiles to. All of the seniors will come to Mr. Tranger and myself. The thought there is we'll be doing updating. Current jobs will go on there, making sure all your information is updated. Juniors, brand new, starting from scratch, we'll be working with the young leaders or young professionals. I get it mixed up.
Combination.
Combination. Young leaders and young professionals in the area that are going to help you with your programs. Okay? So, again, everybody needs to have one of these profiles. Companies are trained right now, when I say I've got this student for Timken, I've got this student for the J.R. Coleman Learning Center, I've got this student for Glenville, I've got this student for Javasi, for Freshmart. They're immediately send me the profiles. So we send the profiles in, and that's their first look at you. So they're very important. They're also, I'm working with several alumni right now transitioning those profiles to full-blown resumes, which is, I'll give you an example. Jonna Coates needs to have an internship in her field. She's majoring in cosmetic science, and she worked at AWP, Mr. John Seife's company, this year, but she needs to have an internship in her field. Well, she's required to submit a resume. So I'm in the process of taking her profile and helping her turn that into a resume so she can send it to L'Oreal and, I don't know, some other cosmetic companies. That's the only one I'm going to tell you. That's how important it is, okay? I have other students that are in college that want to go on LinkedIn now. LinkedIn is a great place to post your resume. Okay, if you're looking for employment or leads. So, any questions on the profiles, get to Mr. Trainer. Okay? He is unbelievably responsible for email. I want you to use email. You need to practice using email. Bless you. You need to practice. Don't check your email. I check it every 24 hours, but at a minimum every 48 hours so you don't miss something. Okay? Career matrix. All right, I have several people who have not submitted their career matrix. So I don't want to embarrass you in front of everybody. Necessarily. But you guys got to get your matrix in, right? Nothing's going to happen until that comes in. So, please get them in. When were they due?
They were due September 15th. And I sent another email out on the 18th. So I'd love to get to that.
Okay, we shouldn't have to beg you or threaten you or anything to get this done. This is part of the process, and because what will happen is if you don't want us to be part of that process with the profiles and the matrix, which all tie into everything else we're doing, then you can enjoy the seminars, but nothing else is going to happen. So get them in. I'm going to ask for this in one more week, Mr. Trenga. Let's say close of business next Friday. Send me another list of the people that are not in, and then we'll be making some decisions based on it, okay? Okay. Driver's education. Is there anyone who is thinking about taking driver's education next in the spring summer? Okay, Mr. Trainer, can we get these names, please? Raise your hand. Way up. Way up.
Thank you. Can I ask a sheet round? Yeah, you okay?
Sure. Okay.
That way I don't want to hold you up.
Sure. What kind of sheet you passing out?
When's that?
Sign up.
What kind of sheet you passing? Sign up?
Yeah, for you for the driver. For the driver.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a good chance that Kim will be able to help you out on it, and we'll let you know probably by next meeting. All right. So if you're thinking about it, now's a good time. Making changes, just get to Mr. Frank right away.
Miss Sarah. Hey, Austin, why don't you come and join us? Sarah.
Getting ready.
Okay. Check on your mic, make sure it works. Go on, go on. Good. That works. Okay.
Somebody needs to tell me.
Yeah.
What a great group. All right, let's do this. How about introduce yourself, okay? And then why don't you spend a couple minutes, like 2, 3, explaining what the job either was or that you are still doing. Basically the responsibilities of the job. Any pros and cons that you'd like to mention. And then when we get through the whole group, we'll open it up for questions. And we'll kind of prompt you along to some other things, okay, which would include skills you're learning and things like that. Okay, we'll get into the more serious stuff. All right? Brianna, why don't you start off and we'll just go right down the line.
So my name is Brianna Gamesu, and I work at the Spa Glenmore, and I am a receptionist. And it sounds luxurious, but it's not. It really isn't. But my responsibilities are I schedule appointments, I take phone calls, I handle money, I check people out, basically those things. I have to deal with a lot of different people. And I feel like that's a good quality to have, especially going into different type of career fields, because I see people from different walks of life than people in like where we're from here. So it really opens up your eyes to different things. And you meet a lot of nice people. Some pros, I mean, I've made a lot of connections already. I've had people offer me jobs while I'm at my job. I have people tell me they give me recommendations for colleges and they met me like twice. I've had people give me tips because they feel like I'm such a great person and I'm going to do great things in life. Once I had someone give me $45. I mean, and my boss, and I'm not even supposed to get tips is the funny thing, and my boss is really flexible with scheduling, so I feel like that's a great job, like because I have so much after school activities I do in sports, and so they're very, very understanding of that. Because with most jobs, you have to like in advance tell them, oh, I can't work that day, and if you try to tell them like 3 days before, they're gonna be like, well, that's a call off and you're gonna get in trouble. Well, with my job, as long as someone can cover the shift and we let them know, they're pretty flexible. Some cons, I mean, to be honest, I would like a higher pay, but that's just with any job. We're starting off this is like our first job, so you're gonna get minimum wage in most places, so you have to understand that whenever you're talking about pay. I mean, I like my hours and shifts. I usually work after school, 4 to 9, or I'll do, I actually work this morning, I'll do morning shifts on the weekend. So as long as you just explain what you're doing, then they're pretty flexible, so.
Hello, I'm Malaya Nelson. I'm a freshman at Youngstown State University. Over the summer, I worked at corporate for Fresh Mart in Massillon, Ohio. There, I was working for food safety. That was my department, but they had me working in the microbiology lab, where I tested for bacteria and all that cool stuff. And I would send that information to the food safety department, and they would send it to all the other plants. From there, I met a lot of different people. For example, like in the microbiology lab, I got to work with 3 different people who came from different backgrounds, such as Laos, Russia, and Romania. So that was a big experience, and very cool to learn about what they did and their kids, and the track their kids are on. A lot of them are in pre-med or almost going to be doctors and stuff. So that was a pretty cool experience. Over the summer, we worked on projects. Like for example, my project was to write what I did in the microbiology lab and then put it in a Visio application, and then we presented it at the end of the summer, and we had people like Mr. Reedy and Mr. Tranger and Mr. Bruno who came and support us as we presented to not only our staff that we worked with, but we also presented to the CEO and the president. So that was a very cool experience, and it helped me, with my social skills and how to speak and all that. I was very comfortable when I did it, and having people I knew in the audience made it easier also. So I only worked there from the end of May to mid of August before I went to school. But recently I got in touch with someone who works in the HR program to give me a job in Salem. From there, I will be doing a little bit of what I did in Massillon there. So we're still getting that set up and everything I'll be doing for that. So that was exciting. The pros, like I said, I got to meet a lot of different people. I was working with other students who I already knew, so that was pretty cool seeing them. So it made it easier for me. The best part was working in a microbiology lab, because I was the youngest person they ever had working there. And I was really in charge to really see if we had bacteria, which was a little nervous because I didn't want to make anybody sick or anything. That was a big deal for me. So that was cool. And then learning different equipment in the micro lab, and then actually meeting the president and the CEO who were very nice there. That was some good pros. And then another thing, they were all really nice to me. So like I can always use for them for references and stuff like that. So that was a big plus. The con I would say is I'm not working there now because of school. I wish I was still working there, but that would be a big drive for me. But that's all I would have to say about working at First. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Austin Carpenter. This summer I worked my internship at Fresh Mart too with Malaya and Sarah. And I worked in distribution. They had me work on 3 projects. A big project I worked on was finding the actual cost of a pallet to make sure that the company wasn't losing money. Skills that I learned, they had me working a lot on the computer, so I had to work on Excel a lot, and I learned a lot on Excel. I didn't know the applications, like some applications you can use on there. You also have to check your email a lot, and my boss and other bosses there, they said they'll help me with my resume and they'll do recommendations for me if I need to. And that's a big con I would say is the work that they give you. They'll give you a certain amount of work to do every day, and depending on how fast you work, is like how long it will take. And I work pretty quick, so I had a lot of downtime. But working at First freshman, it was pretty cool.
My name is Channing Pugh. I had a summer internship at Tower Industries. It's about a 26-minute drive out in Massillon. They specialize in stone countertops and bathroom installations. So I didn't really have a specific part that I was assigned to. I kind of worked everywhere. In casting, you were in charge of like getting the molds out, pouring the matrix into the molds, and moving them around. Finishing, you just had to sand a lot of stuff, a lot of panels, a lot of countertops, all that. Shipping, you just pack it up and then get it ready to get sent out the next morning. Pros of working there, I would have to say, is definitely meeting new people. Got a lot of opportunities from meeting those people. Another pro would have to be what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, the money. You got paid a lot of money. I mean, because it was a very labor-intensive job. You have to move like 200, 300-pound panels. It's not by yourself, it's with other people, but it was very physically challenging, I would say. But yeah, the money you get paid starting out at $11 an hour. You could work as long as you wanted to, which was a great part. I worked from 6 a.m. to 12, so it was really good for me, working 5 hours a day, just helping me extra cash and stuff, so that's a benefit. A con, I would have to say, it's different. The people were different. It's not something I was used to, but I got adapted to it. You got to deal with certain people. There was a lot of hotheads, so like they thought they knew everything, how to do everything, and that wasn't the case. So they would get mad a lot. But you gotta be able to adapt to it and just deal with it. So that would be a con. Another con would be, like I said, getting up so early. Sometimes I would have to get up at 4:30 just to get to my job. I had to compensate for the 26-minute commute there, and also like any traffic that was gonna be there, so that would be a con. But overall, I thought it was a great opportunity. I enjoyed it. Like I said, physically demanding. It helped me lose weight, so I mean, that was a pro. So yeah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Dubinsky. I work at Freshmark as well as Malaya and Austin and Chelsea. I was in the IT department, which is where both of my older brothers worked. IT, if you don't know, stands for Information Technology. So I did a lot of computer programming and software design and system updates and techie James Bond like control all the lead stuff. I spent most of my days, I would say, working on different projects. Malaya and Austin and Chelsea would always make fun of me because I had a calendar that my boss gave me for an 8-week layout of projects that I had to complete by the end of the week. And I think by the end I had done at least 15 projects, which was really helpful for me because it helped me learn all of the different systems that they had, not only like the ones that are specific to Freshmark alone, but also the ones that we will eventually use every day when we start working with Excel, Visio, all the Office applications. I would say the job that I think I benefited the company most with would be I had to take a 5-step project layout plan that tells people how you go into a system, like the systems they use in Freshmark, and how to maneuver through all of the system updates and everything you have to do. And so I had to take 5-step plans and turn them into as detailed of a plan as possible. So I would go from 5 steps to 35 steps and just kind of highlight and plan things and put them into a system so that anybody else could follow along if need be. For me, it was really nice because I like presenting, and every week at the end of the week I had to present in front of my boss, my 2 bosses, the people in the department I worked with that week, and my advisor who was there with the company. And I really liked that because by the end we had to do a huge presentation. I had 10 minutes to give a presentation, but I had a culmination of 10-minute presentations for 8 weeks. So let's just say I went over 10 minutes, and it took a really long time, and everyone had to listen to me talk for a really long time, like you will today. Congratulations. I really like the job, and by the end, I have to say, it did start getting a little tedious, some of the tasks that I did over and over again. The biggest problem, and this was a huge problem to me, it was 60 degrees down there every day. That was freezing. That was the worst problem. But that's why I wore sweaters like this every day. Other than that, the pro was everyone's awesome at Freshmark, as everyone else who worked there can tell you. They're the kindest people in the world. They only wanted to do great things for the company and to help you as much as possible. I loved it. The drive kind of was a bit costly for my SUV-like car. But other than that, I really enjoyed it, and it was nice getting paid to do something that will really benefit me in the future.
Hi, my name is Arabella Dillard. I worked at Area Wide Protective. I started off in IT. I would mostly be going through like spreadsheets of contracts, seeing if there were any that were out of date or whatnot, and highlighting those. But they ran out of work for me there after a few weeks, so I got transferred to billing, where I would take paper copies of the work done and transfer them to electronic ones, make sure they were ready to be sent out to the workers for payment, and then email them those. So it was largely repetitive work, but it was still a great experience. The people there were just absolutely wonderful, completely patient, willing to explain anything you would need to do. It was I really enjoyed the experience. It was a close drive, good pay. There's no one either or anything. Like the only thing I could have to say negative is just like it's a lot of sitting in the same place, but I mean, no worse than at school when you're sitting in the same place. So it was a really great experience. Didn't really have any schedule conflicts or anything because of summer to summers. Overall, very enjoyable.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Leach. I work at the JLC daycare currently, so they work with my college schedule. So I work 10 to 5 Mondays and Tuesdays, 10 to 7 Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And they were really easy with that. I just gave them a strict test of papers and my college classes, and they were like, yeah, here's your schedule. So I still work full-time there while going to school. I'm the toddler assistant in room 1. And basically my responsibilities are I help out around the class, so I clean, I get the art projects ready for the art portion of the day. I set out lunch and snack, I set out the cots, I help put the kids to sleep. I have an account on teaching strategies where I have to input notes for all 12 of the kids in my class every day. It gets to be a lot because you have to have 50 notes every week, and the notes take you at least 5 to 10 minutes per note. But it's a really easy place to work at if you like repetition, which for me, I like repetition, but I also like change. So the art projects and the way you go about the day are really easy. You can change stuff to where you can, if it's raining outside, you keep the kids inside, go to the gym, or we have 3 hours of free play every day. You can change that up and go to the library, or you can go on a walk. You can do whatever you want to as long as it stays in the range for what the little kids are able to do. I mostly learned time management there because it's a lot to be able to do snacks, lunch, put the kids to sleep, go on a 3-hour break because the kids are sleeping for about 3 hours, so you have to manage your time well during that time. But I've also learned patience. I've learned how to do lesson plans that will help me whenever I enter the early childhood education track because I'm going for the K through 3 degree. I've learned quite a bit from the lead teacher because she's been there for 10 years and I'm her full assistant. So she showed me just about everything I need to be doing in the daycare, including filling up mop buckets, getting supplies in the supply closet, going into the break room and getting the confetti paper or whatever we need for the art projects. She showed me a lot and it's it's a really good place to work. The only con there is that it gets to be about 85 degrees when the kids are running around and you're wearing pants and slacks, and it gets really hot. Really hot.
Okay, so I guess we're gonna open it up to the questions. If we already have some, but if you want to submit some more, and then like them as they come
You have questions on your computer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Why don't we start with that then?
in. Mr. Trainer wants to say something.
Okay.
I just wanted to mention, if you do want to send your question using your phone, just go to slido.com, and then it'll ask you to put in the pound E921. You can type in your question or write up your students. If not, we have our microphone. Go ahead. Raise your hand if you have a question. So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay, I really like the first question that pops up. It says, did the summer experience cause you to think differently about your career path? And honestly, yes. I didn't choose to go into IT, but I learned a lot about it. I learned that it's really important in today's life. The IT department at Freshmark barely existed 20 years ago. Everyone there is relatively new to the office. In fact, the office I worked in was the newest edition. It was brand new because they really didn't have to use all that before. But because of the IT department, it works. The systems and the company is so much more efficient. And they save so much more money with the projects that they've done. I know now, though, that I may want to go into IT. I may want to minor in it in college because it's, in the upcoming years, it's one of the most wanted careers that you can find. But I also know that I don't want to work in an office like that for the rest of my life. I don't like office jobs just because I'm such an active person. But there are other places in IT that you can do that require moving around more and that you get to travel to, like my bosses got to do, and just other people in the department. So,
Just a really short story. My wife and I moved to San Francisco in 1995, a long time ago, right? And the person we were buying the house from got in a conversation with him, and I said, how come you're selling the house? He said, well, I'm going to work in Switzerland. And I said, wow, that's a big change. And he was European. So I said, well, what do you do? He says, I'm in IT. And I said, oh, your company's located in Switzerland? He says, no, I can do this job anywhere in the world, and I choose to live in Switzerland. Now that was in 1995. I mean, that's over 20 years ago. That is still true today. That with IT, okay, I'll promise you this, there are a lot of people sitting at home out of jobs that if they had a minor in IT or they were proficient in IT, they could be working, they could be working right out of their homes. And this is especially true for women with children. It is perfect. So think about that. And we've been preaching for 6 years. There's a video on IT. Mr. Sage, Jim Sage, is on my operating committee today. Works with Mr. Tranger. As a matter of fact, they're redoing all of the videos in the files. They're condensing them, making them easier to view. We'll get back to you on some more information. There's an IT video in there. I suggest you go look at it. There's over 8,000 jobs in Northeast Ohio right now today in IT that are open. So that's a very important point. Thank you.
I'd like to speak on that too. Yeah, it made me think about a different career path because at first I thought that I just wanted to work a job where I didn't have to do much, just sit there, work on a computer, and just be done with it. But then after working there, I realized that that is definitely not what I want to do. Partly because I know I'll fall asleep if I sit at a desk for too long. So I need to have something to do with my hands at all times. So working there really helped me realize that maybe working the plan I had before wasn't going to work for me. So it made me realize that maybe this should be something I do, more physically demanding jobs. So.
Yeah, we had a young man, first year I think, right? He wanted to do landscaping. So I found an internship for him that summer in landscaping. So you know what he said? The first thing he said when he came out, we had kind of a session like this. And he said, well, I found out that landscaping is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. I mean, he said he never realized what a precious commodity water was. And when you're out there in 90, 95 degree heat in landscaping, you know, digging holes and stuff, I mean, so it is important that you find out what you don't want to do too, okay, at the same time. But I will tell you that, and Channing will tell you, that those tradespeople make an awful lot of money. A lot of them $100,000 or more. The people who are working in that industry. So.
Okay, so this is the question at the top. Did you experience any racial discrimination at your job? If so, how did it make you feel and how did you handle it? Well, I'm an African American woman and I do work at a place that is predominantly white, and I can be thankful and say I haven't really experienced anything too directly, and a lot of people ask me that question because I do work at a country club. I haven't experienced anything directly to an extent that's made me feel like I want to quit my job. I mean, sometimes I've had people look at me, but that could also just be people in general, so I don't really feed into it because for the most part, I find people that are extremely accepting, extremely sweet, and people that are kind, and so that outweighs anything that might negatively affect me. So I can thankfully say that nothing major has ever happened to me.
Also to speak on that question, at Freshmark this summer, not only was I thinking like there would be any racial discrimination, but I thought since I'm an intern, I'm young, they're gonna treat me different. Forget the fact that, you know, what I am, but like, they were so kind and they respected me as if I was them, you know, they're other own employees. They didn't treat me anything differently. They were all respectful. People I didn't even know, they would always wait and have a conversation with me and speak to me. So I never had that problem at Freshmark. I really felt comfortable there, and the people that were there were surprisingly nice.
Like Millie was saying, people at Freshmark, they're nice. It was very rare to walk down my pole or something and they don't say hi or anything. They always offer food or a drink and they'll say, ask if you're okay.
Me personally, I didn't experience any racial discrimination, not that I know of, but I did receive like discrimination based on my age. They kind of look down on you, see you as incompetent, but that is really not the case. There was one guy there who thought he called me slow for some reason. I don't know. He thought I was slow, but towards the end of the job, he apologized and soon realized that like, hey, you kids are actually working hard. You really helped out, and they said we were the best summer interns so far this summer. So.
Yeah, that is great. Look, the purpose of this is not to talk you into getting a job that's sponsored by camp, because believe me, I usually have more jobs than I have students who qualify. And I'll get in some of the questions I have at the end is about qualifications for a camp apprenticeship, because you may want to have a camp apprenticeship, but unless you do the things like fill out your matrix, do your profiles, meet with Mr. Tringer and I, follow through on everything, make sure your attendance is okay, things like that. It's not to sell you on it, But we pride ourselves that the jobs that we do have for our students are safe environments. They're mostly nurturing environments. I think you heard that. The Tower experience that Channing's doing, that's our first experience with Tower this year. I'm glad it's what you say it is, Channing, because in manufacturing industries, it's not always like that. The other jobs I know very well because we've had them for years. We have multiple people. I've put 15 people through Glenmore, 30 people through Freshmark, J.R. Coleman, we have J.R. Learning Center. I think we have 5 working there right now. Early College High School alumni that are going to school. Tessa Nectar, Misha Barnes. Hakia. Also, I think one of the Canaries, right? Natalie, isn't Caroline working there? Okay. But they're nurturing environments, they're safe environments. That's what we pride ourselves on. So, you know, you be the judge if that's something you want to go after. We never, if you have other options, and that's the way you want to choose because you can get 50 cents or 75 cents more, $1 more an hour in a riskier environment, that's your choice. But we do pride ourselves on that. We make sure, I made that promise to Mr. Bruner, and I made that promise to the superintendent when we put the program together, that we would put you in the least risk environments as possible. So keep that in mind.
Okay, I'm going to bring this both kind of put two together right now. One says, have you learned any money tips and tricks when it comes to saving or spending your paycheck? And then, were there any financial issues with the rest of your household that your job affected? For myself, because I had got a job and I've been working since I was 15, and I now work 2, this job and just jobs in general was very helpful for my household. My parents now, well, my parents make me pay for everything that I have, which is nice, kind of. But it helped me continue to pay off my car, even though I already paid it off. I have to pay for my insurance, and I have to pay for any updates that I do. I have to pay for my phone, guys. I don't have Android anymore. Thank you. Anyways. It also helped my mom because she would then send me grocery shopping after I got off of work because I have a very different dietary life than my family has. And so she would send me to do my own grocery shopping and say that my job was paying for it, which is fine because that's all I have to do when I grow up. But I really do think it benefited my house financially. I was spending less time at home, which I guess means less electricity for the electricity bill. And I was making more money, so my parents didn't have to worry about me paying for things. I learned how to save my money through this job because, you know, I knew that I would do the math and be like, this many hours working means that by the end of this 2 weeks, I can go off and pay for my tires or my brakes that I have to have done. Or I can go and buy my phone eventually by the end of the summer. So that was really helpful. And it was also nice just to have something to spend money. It's nice to be able to go out with your friends and not have to ask your parents for money all the time. Or not, for me, not have to do a million chores at home, so my mom will give me a couple bucks. But it was really helpful, I think, in those situations.
I would like to say on also say what Sarah said, and then I would like to answer the question, tie it together. The question is, how hard was it to do the summer internship, the summer before going away to college? Well, that summer the job was basically to pay everything for my dorm room and all that at Youngstown. So, like Sarah said, I had to pay for everything too. And so having this job, the summer internship before the summer, before I went to college, it didn't make a big deal, but it made a big difference when it came to money because I had to make sure I saved for everything and buy everything by myself, which was a big deal for me because I'm not used to that. But, and also, like over the summer, I was the last to leave out of the group because I left right before I went to college. So that was really the big thing about having a job before I went to college, but it wasn't a big deal. But the biggest thing would be just saving money and make sure I had to pay for everything.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. For those who don't know me, I'm a really big cheapskate, so I don't like spending a lot of money if I can help it. But working at this job, getting paid so much, that was kind of proved to be pretty difficult because I'd see that paycheck and then I'd instantly just go out and just buy things on the impulse. So that wasn't very good for my bank account. What I had to do was leave my credit card at home. I actually gave it to my mom, and then I would go get cash first. Like I put like $50 into my wallet and say, okay, this is all you can spend this week. That helped me conserve my money, because if I didn't do that, I'd be broke like I am now. So yeah, I would say you should spend your money wisely. Don't do what I do.
I also suck at saving money. The same with Channing. I seen the check and it was like going the next day. But I did manage to find some useful things this summer. I got my own school supplies. I also paid to take the ACT again, and I still have enough money to take it again. So that's a good thing.
Just real quick, having money is really nice. And when you get money doing something that also looks amazing on your resume, and a job that when we're 17 years old, Aussie and I technically weren't supposed to be there, but we were. We didn't get to see the plant because we were too young, but they invited us back the day we turned 18 to come see the plant. And I might do it. My birthday's this upcoming Friday. So they told me that for my 18th birthday, before I voted or bought a pack of cigarettes, I could go tour the Fresh Mark plant. I'm very excited about that. But yeah, having money is great, honestly. And having money during the summer, when you have time to spend money and go do fun things, it's also great. And then also when you stop working, it makes you want to get more money, so you go and get more jobs. Like, I think we all have jobs now also. And then during this Christmas season, when we're not really at school, they will possibly, if you do well, invite you back. And that's 2 more weeks of that amazing pay. And then the next summer. And then you can just kind of keep going. And that's all. Money is good. Get the money.
Okay, so I was gonna bring up the question of, was it easy to learn the skills of your job? And I feel like my job, it can be kind of tedious because it's kind of repetitive. You do the same things. So I feel like it was easy as long as you pay attention. So when you go into a job, don't think that you know everything. Don't think that there's nothing that you can learn. Go in there with an open mind and actually wanting to learn something and gain something from it. And then I feel like you will feel like you benefited from it. So I feel like I'm actually benefiting from my job, even though I do basically the same repetitive things every single day. I learn new things every day. I meet new people. They tell me about their lives. I know this one guy who's 75 and he tells me about his life every single day, and I love him so much. Like, I'd actually be happy to see him. So things like that makes your job more exciting. So I feel like it was pretty easy to learn your skills. And so, yeah.
Also, to add to that question, when I first heard I was going to work in a microbiology lab, I said, what? Like, what am I supposed to do there? Like, I was really scared because I was like, these people are like, they have to be like scientists, like they're too smart, like why would I be doing that? They have all this experience and all that. But when I got there, the first day was a little scary, but like she said, she had repetition in her job, I had repetition in my job. It was the same format, and eventually I was able to learn everything, and it became pretty cool because I would come there like before all of them, and I would set up everything and get things going, and they would just be surprised I was there earlier than them, already starting stuff, because they already taught me how to do everything, and if I knew I could come in early, I might as well. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, it was a lot of repetition, so eventually when I learn one thing, I can learn something else and just add on to that, and able to do everything by myself, but which made me feel accomplished.
If you guys go into the app or the thing, if you go in and like the questions that you want answered more, because a lot of them have the same amount of likes, then it'll be easier to answer the ones you want to see.
By the way, you're asking some great questions.
Yes.
Yeah, there's someone here said, was there any women at your job or was it predominantly men? For the most part, it was predominantly men. Working in the factory part, we only had about 3 women or so working back there. And I give them props because I don't know if I would want to deal with half the crap they deal with working there. But they're pretty strong. They hold their ground. So I mean that's a pro. Most of the women though worked in the front of the shop, which is where all the like desks are. They did all like the analytical stuff as part of the job. But the ones who worked in the factory, they held their own. So yeah, we had a few working back there.
Women at AWP, Freshmark.
There were only 3 in the entire IT department. The IT department was the entire basement.
Out of how many?
Out of, well, let me do that. Out of, I'd say 30. So obviously 110. Plus me. So that was nice because, you know, me and the other 3 ladies got kind of close. But it's not nice also because the jobs the women did, not biasedly, I'm not saying it's biasedly, but the jobs they did, it seemed like because of kind of who they are as women, the jobs they had, even though they were just as capable, were less complex. And they would, I would see them ask for help, like for more difficult jobs, or ask for more help, or not more help, just more tasks that were more challenging so they could continue to grow. The one lady, I did hear some like people talk about her negatively, but really she was just getting jobs that were just tedious, that people were just kind of throwing on her, I think because she was like the main woman in the office. But I really do think that that is one problem with IT, is that there are not a lot of female power. For a lot of female inclusive.
Arabella, what about AWP?
Well, AWP was kind of the opposite. It was basically like a sea of women, like 5 guys in there. Not really in the IT program. Everyone except for the other intern was male there, but it was mostly women in the office. Like even a lot of my bosses were women.
Right.
The flappers were more males. I would say like a 60-40 split, perhaps, out in the job, but in the office it was mostly women.
And Caitlin at JRC.
It was mostly women.
Right.
I think there was one teacher, and then the success advocate was a male, and that was it. And a receptionist was a male. So we had 3 males out of about 30 staff members.
Right. So, very interesting because AWP, which is area-wide protection, what AWP does is they contract out with construction companies for signage. So, you know how you pull up to somebody's working on construction, they have the people turning signs. Those are people from AWP. They close off lanes and route traffic. That's what area-wide protection does. So it's not like it's working in the construction field. They recruit a lot of women. Freshmark, which is a manufacturer of meats, bacon, ham, Sugardale is their big brand. They do a lot of hams for Honey Baked Ham Company. Not a small outfit, a couple of $1 billion company. I mean, it's huge. But the meat industry is mostly male dominated. Now, but you were in IT. or at least you experience IT. And I'm going to tell you, there are so many career paths that are dying for female representation. I'm going to name 3. One of them happens to be IT. The other one happens to be engineering. Engineering students, if you went to the engineering dinner this past year, you would see 300 Stark County engineers, and 90% of them are male. They are dying for female engineers. Akron University will give you scholarships till the cows come home. The other one is financial planning. Sage and Sarah shadowed at financial planning. Mark Savodio, who's on my operating committee, works there. They happen to be my personal financial planner. They are dying. They just opened up a program at Stark State. At Akron. They have scholarships, and the sky is the limit. So I would rather you think of it as the companies either haven't done a good job, it's not part of their priority, versus what's available, because in those 3 careers I just gave you, the sky is the limit. And if you want to pursue it, we'll talk about that during your session with Mr. Tringer and I, and we'll get you an opportunity, or if you want to experience it, we'll try to put it into the shadowing piece. But really, the sky's the limit on females in the workforce.
A question I got was, how was your day-to-day in the lab at freshman? Well, like I mentioned earlier, I was there before they were all there. Like, for example, like Svetlana came from Twinsburg, so that's an hour away. So she got there a little bit later. Time was very flexible, but I always wanted to make sure I showed up there either at 8 or before 8. When you get there, you got to go through a lot of security. You got the safeguard check, and you have to use your file for a lot of different doors to get through. But as soon as I would get there, I would log into my laptop. The first thing I would do was take temperature for all the incubators, which tests for, it can test for anything like salmonella or listeria, depending on what you're testing for. I would take all the temperatures for that. Then I would go to this BACS machine, which would tell me if I had any positive or negative for listeria or salmonella or E. coli. And then I report that and put it on the sheet. And if we had any positives, that was a big no-no. We didn't get many of that, but when we did, they will tell the other plants and they will dispose the meat. But I would check that, and then I would start testing for everything, package everything, start labeling, and by the time that happened, everybody would come. And then at 10 a.m., we got like packages from the other plants like Canton and Salem, and we would start testing that right away, and start reporting that, and we would put it in the incubators and wait for the next test for the next day or whatever it was supposed to be due, and then check that off, and then I would send it to John, the manager, who will take that report and send it to corporate or whoever who was in charge of the LIN system at the time. And that's how my day-to-day experience was.
Okay, now, the next question. If you're allowed to choose your internship, how do you choose one? And if you how do you choose one if you do not know where you want to go on your future career path? For the freshman people, we did not know which department we'd be working in until like a week before the internship. What they told me was, I don't know, it was more of a question. They said, "Are you Dubinsky?" And then I said, "Yes, obviously." And then they put me where my brothers were, which was fine. I ended up really liking IT. I am planning on going into marine biology, marine conservation biology, minor in business when I go to college. And because of that, after working a summer in a branch that I didn't really, pick to go into, I now have the ability to ask them if I can go into a different department, just to get more experience. And so next summer, if Elaine continues to work there, I may be working in the microbiome lab because I'll be 18 then and I'll be able to do that. with her, so that even looks better on my resume for what I want to go into. But I would say not all of us got to pick what we went into. But I guess that's good if you don't know what you want to go into, because they just kind of throw you somewhere.
Yeah, let me try to answer this, because that's an excellent question. So, I don't have a lot of internships in marine biology
What?
in Canton, Ohio. All right, so I had a lot of them, but she didn't qualify. No. So, I started to look at the matrix and what the second and third options are. And there was some business that Sarah was interested in, so that's takes into consideration. In Malaya's case, psychology. Now, correct?
Right now they have me doing biology, but I want to be a psychiatrist, but they have me majoring in biology for medical
Okay,
school.
so Malaya wants to be a psychiatrist. So, by the way, I don't think we have anybody representing West Medical. So we have about 6 students right now currently at West Medical. To find a paying job in the medical field, an apprenticeship, an internship, or anything is almost impossible. We have set up with West Medical, and I have some nursing students there, Megan Sims, Daniel Tessu, Jada Waite, I'm forgetting half of them, but anyway, that was a godsend because, again, you have to go to school for like 35 years in the medical field before you get a paycheck. So we try to fit you in where we can in the career you're looking for. In the case of Malaya, what I thought about was if she likes business, and this has happened to one of our students, Justine Chester, who is now on my operating committee. She graduated with a psychology degree. She found out she really couldn't get a good job with the psychology degree, so she had 2 choices. Go on and continue to get a doctorate. She did a shadowing experience at Timken in their human resource department. She absolutely loved it. The wife of the head of human resources in Timken, I golf with, Ron Myers, she did a day there, she loved it. Now she's going for a master's in industrial psychology, which will allow her to go into human resources. So, it's kind of a, you gotta like follow this along, okay? And only because I'm old and I've experienced all of this and can strategically envision what we call pathways, okay? The beauty of camp is we have a lot of networking. So when we sit down with you and we talk to you about it, you individually, outside of this setting of the group, we're gonna be thinking about things like that. You wanna work, can we find it in your career? If we can't get you in your career path right now, we want a safe environment, quality job. The most important thing here is learning skills. And I can tell you, I know every one of these individuals very well. I've been associated with them for anywhere from 2 to probably 4 years, this group. Zach Helfer is in the back. He's one of our first graduates. I know Zach for 7 years, okay? And I can tell you the growth in these individuals from a skill perspective is absolutely unbelievable. And that's what, if you want to be developed, like camp does, career-wise, that's the best you can ask for. We're not here to babysit anybody or do anything. We're here for career development and training. And what you see here is the product of what it could be. Okay? And that isn't even parading in front of you. If you want, if you missed the June session, or go back and look, we have videos going 3-4 years. You'll see both of Sarah's brothers, EJ and Caleb. You'll see the Montgomery twins, who graduated with a 32 and a 33 ACT, NYU and Baldwin Wallace. You'll see the jobs they had. You'll see videos of them standing up in front of the chairman at Freshmark, making presentations. And some of them are going for Arabic language, right? Another one is working in Disney, trying to get a job in Disney in foreign relations. So what does that have to do with Freshmark and a meatpacking industry? It's about learning the skills and abilities. Make sense?
What did you have to sacrifice for these internships in terms of time or personal reasons? Our job kind of went from, well, you got 8 hours a day. You had to be in 3 hours a day. So you could really start whenever you wanted to, they told us, and then leave after that 8 hours were up. If you did take your lunch break, you could leave an extra half an hour early, but you still got to eat lunch because you had your breaks that you had to take. But because it ended at 5, and a lot of my other friends also work jobs, it wasn't that bad. I got home most days either at 5 or before 5 because I would get done earlier, and then I would just go do whatever else. Considering it wasn't extremely exhausting, I still had energy. But other than that, also, Mr. Mazzella, and he says this for good reasons, says that when you take an internship, you should really have no more than 1 week off that you can't take. Because of the situation for this summer, I was able to take 2 weeks off, and my bosses were completely fine with it. Because I competed in nationals, which was a school event, and then I also got to go on my own family vacation. And they weren't paid weeks off, but I was still able to take those weeks off and then continue to finish my 8-week to 11-week internship.
Yes, if you are planning on participating in any camp sponsored, do not assume that you can take more than 1 week during next summer.
I just got lucky.
So, well, no, I mean, the supervisor, I never know until the last minute if the supervisor is agreeable to it. So it's not something I can commit now. So if you're starting at the end of May, I won't know until the second week of May because all supervisors are different. We tell the employer that we have notified you that 1 week is the max. So if you're planning on doing anything next summer for more than a week, it's probably going to disqualify you from one of these. Because they're only 8 to 10 weeks. So if they're 8 weeks and you take off 2, and by the way, it's usually a group training session, like we got lucky with Sarah, but usually the 4 students are in a couple of day training session together. So they don't want to do that with 2 people and send other assets to do the other people. In addition, that they are working with college interns and apprenticeships, right? From various schools. So Goodyear, Timken, Freshmark, recruit from Miami of Ohio, Ohio University, Ohio State, all over the place. Akron, Malone, Mount Union. So there's college students coming in. So they want to train everybody together, and to make an exception for one student coming out of the York College High School program and camp, it's probably not going to happen.
I just want to say the only thing I really sacrificed during this internship was sleeping in. Like I said, I work from 6 to 12 every day. Sometimes I'd have to get up even earlier, but the benefit of that is that I literally have the rest of the day to do whatever it is I want. Problem with that is waking up so early as soon as I got off of work because it was so tiresome. I went to sleep until like 10 o'clock at night after I got off work, so that was a problem. So yeah, that's the only thing I sacrificed. The hours there, you can schedule however long you want to work, you could have overtime if you wanted to or not, but I just chose to work 5 hours a day because I really didn't need the money. I just wanted extra cash in my pocket, so.
I was going to play basketball again this upcoming season, but since I got the internship, I couldn't make any of the summer practices or anything. But I think it was worth it. I learned more doing the internship than I would playing basketball.
Personally, I don't think I sacrificed anything. Freshman is very flexible. I don't know if it's because we were lucky or not, but they were very flexible with the interns. I noticed all of us this summer. So like, for example, if I had like a scholarship banquet, something I had to go to, I just let them know. You could let them know the day of and it'll be okay, but I made sure I let them know earlier and there was no problem with it. I just let them know I would come later or whatever. And there wasn't much sacrifice because I made sure I had a good summer. I made sure I tried to do everything that I could this summer since it was the college before starting my first year. So sometimes I would break up, you know, the week by going to movies or hanging out with my friends, but on the weekends I made sure I did everything I wanted to do. So there was not much of a sacrifice.
I'm also a person who usually likes to sleep in the summer. I don't even turn on an alarm clock. Sometimes I wake up at 5, sometimes I wake up at 2 p.m. It just like wildly fluctuates during the summer. So that's not a thing I was able to do having a regular job, but mostly it didn't affect me so much. Because I was getting out at 5 and just going to go, I didn't end up getting to go swimming at all this summer, which is somewhat of an emotional tragedy, but other than that, it's fine. Didn't really affect anything else.
It's a job. You're gonna have jobs when you get out of college. You're gonna have jobs when you're in college. You have jobs now. You just gotta go to work. Okay, I have a question. In terms of being an
One second, Sarah. I do want to say, continuing on what I was talking about before with Malaya and Sarah, let's take Caitlin, for instance. Were you originally early childhood education?
Whenever I first went off to college, I was pharmacology and toxicology.
Okay. Pharmacology and toxicology. She got this job, fell in love with early childhood education, and it's a great spot. In Arabella's case, she's working with 2 doctors that are on my operating committee, Dr. Bedkarers, Vasant and Mangala, and she's working with them. I just talked to Mangala yesterday, and she said that she's looking to, your major is, or at least what you want to do is what, Arabella?
I'm going to be an obstetrician gynecologist.
Obstetrician gynecologist. So she's setting up some shadowing and some potential long-term work opportunity in that field. In the case of Brianna, is it nursing or? Well, I'm sorry? A reproductive endocrinologist. I think that's in the marine biology camp for my jobs, but you're going to work with both Dr. Bedkarers for that, okay? Austin was easy, he's business. Channing was kind of easy because he said, hey, I'd like to try this tower experience because we talked about possible fresh market experience for him. So it's evolving, okay, it's evolving. It doesn't mean that whatever job you get in, that's where you're pigeonholed, you know, and you know, you have to weigh each one separately. Do you have alternatives? Yeah, you have some alternatives, and you know, it could be if you don't have transportation, we have to work through that. There's several students right here, 2 students right here that we worked with for transportation, wound up getting cars. Can't guarantee that for everybody, but wound up getting cars, and then they wound up having jobs. So we'll work with you, and we'll start in October and November and identify all those opportunities. I'm sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
Okay, in terms of being in IT at Freshmark, what skills did you have to have prior to getting this internship? And did you have to know coding? No, I did not have to know coding. Coding is for a four-year college degree. Praise the Lord, that's not what I would be doing in college. That's what my brother's doing right now in college, though. And coding to him is terrifying. So no, you don't have to know how to code. I told them as soon as I got in there, because Caleb was in IT, and last year he also did an internship after being at an institute for IT. I really didn't know anything when I got in there. I mean, our school teaches us Excel and PowerPoint and all the basic things that we have to use. And that's what I told him I knew. I was very honest. And the people there are fantastic. I mean, my best friend, Richard, the help desk secretary, I love Richard. He's fantastic. He has 7 children. Another on the way. Sorry. And Kevin, who loves his boat, he takes up to Sandusky every Saturday. They helped me with any type of random question I had. They gave me the Wi-Fi password, which no one else got apparently. And any question that I had concerning what I was doing, they helped me with. Colleen, who was my advisor, also told me everything. And because every week I was with a different department, I would say, in IT, they just kind of told me how to do things, and if I had to ask a question, I did. I would spend some days asking 100 questions about No Before, and then I'd spend other days asking no questions about PowerPoint and Excel, because in Kimberly College, we are masters of that. So most of these internships, you don't need to know anything prior. The internship is about obtaining skills and obtaining responsibility, and that's exactly what I think this internship did for all of us.
Her brother EJ started in the dock, down in the docks of Freshmark. So that's taking in trucks and shipments. And if you know anything about truck drivers, they were all union. And Channing, if you think you got it bad over there, you ought to see truck drivers. But they absolutely, by the end of his internship, they absolutely loved EJ. Okay, the following year, EJ worked in one of their departments. We moved him up to another department. The next year, he went over to Goodyear. He found out that he wanted to major in accounting and finance, and we put him in accounting and finance. He worked in Goodyear for 2 years in their accounting and finance department. So that's kind of how it evolves. So it's like a dock job, you know, and he just used his personality just like Sarah does. And in the case of Caleb, he was a whiz. He's an IT whiz. He's genius when it comes to IT. So they fit him in that department, and then boom, he just, his smarts took him, to new heights. So different things are going to trigger how successful you are. And that's bringing out the best of each of you. I mean, that's why I can honestly say the growth that I've seen in each of you for the last 2 to 3 years is absolutely unbelievable, and we're really proud of you. And it's going to continue. I mean, it's got nowhere to go but up.
We have a question that says, since you got your job through camp, do you still have to turn in a resume application and go through the interview process? The answer is yes. Everything we do is for a reason. So when Mr. V asks us to do a resume, it's because these jobs are looking at it and the supervisors are looking and getting an understanding of what we did and where we come from. So yes, you do have to have your resume. For an application, we did our application there at Freshmark. They gave it to us and we just signed everything there. And if we had any more things that we needed to bring, we would bring the next day. The interview process, we really didn't have an interview process because they already looked at the resume and they trust Mr. Venturella with the students he bring. That was for Freshmark, but when I was doing my Habitat Restore internship, which was the summer of 2017, I did have an interview. So it depends on the job and what company you're working for. But yes, you do need to have all of that. And it's important to have the resume too, because like, for example, I'm in my first year in college, they're having me do the first year experience. And the first thing they brought was you have to have a resume for that class. And I was like, I already have it done. And So that was a bonus to be in the camp program and already have that information completed.
For the interview process, Mr. B and Mr. Traeger, they met with all of us several times and asked us questions, and Mr. B even called us a few times.
So with Glenmore, I did have to still do an interview. I still did have a resume, and I actually interviewed with 2 different people. And it was actually beneficial because after that, they said, wow, like we're so impressed with you that we want you to actually work at a different position there. But I had to interview with the general manager, and he didn't like how young I was, because I was 16 at the time, and he didn't like how young I was, so I actually didn't even get the job at first. And I was kind of like sad about that. And then they ended up calling me, actually they called Mr. Venturella, and they emailed me and they said, well, now we figured it out and you can come back. So I actually ended up getting the job that way. And I mean, I thought it was pretty beneficial because it teaches you what you're gonna have to do in the future. You're not gonna get any job, like, just hand it to you and they're gonna be like, okay, we trust you, just here's this job. So it gives you the skills because the interview can be very stressful. And luckily, like, everyone has to interview to get into camp, so that kind of helps you. So I feel like if you're scared, don't be, and it'll be fine.
Right, and we will work with you for interviews, Mr. Traeger and I think everybody up there, right, Caitlin, when you went in, we prepped you, right? Just about everybody there, we had a prep. Freshmark's a little bit different. We've been doing this for 6 years. They actually love our students. We can get away with a profile. I send them in, and every year it gets better and better. I think this is the 6th year that Mr. Fee has told me this is the best class he's ever had. So I'm pretty impressed with that. So especially after some of the talent that we've sent through there. But most other jobs, yeah, there'll be some prep. You probably have to do about an hour's worth of prep for a job. It includes going on the computer, looking up the company, taking down notes, coming up with some questions. So we'll walk you through that, and you don't have to worry about that.
I didn't end up having to interview. They had my profile, but I came in on, I think, Wednesday, and I started Monday of the next week. I just had to fill out a little bit of paperwork saying, you know, that I would use the computers for my job and not coolmathgames.com and stuff like that. Just a little bit of work, but it was just, they let me basically instantly. They already had the profiles, and so I didn't end up having anything.
And also to add to what Mr. Ventura said about the prepping before, that was very, very beneficial and still to this day because he made me look up basically the history of Glenmore, different things, and he told me things about it. So there was this one time I was walking this lady around because she didn't know where she was going because it's a maze. If you're not there for a while, it's very confusing. And so I was just telling her things and like the history behind Glenmore and what it used to be. And she was like, do you also do tours? And I was like, no, I just work as a receptionist. And she was like, wow, you should really do tours because you seem to know a lot more about your job than anyone I've met yet. And I was like, well, thank you. So I feel like that's very beneficial, and it makes people seem more impressed with you, and it'll just help you out.
For Tower Industries, you had to do an interview. And I want to thank Mr. V for helping me out with that because I was the only one to show up with like a hand copy of my resume, so I really think that actually helped out. I also was the only one to like completely dress up, like suit, tie, and everything. Everyone else just wore jeans and a t-shirt. So yeah, I think the resume has really helped. You should really focus on that, get that done, get it into them. It's a really big benefit to helping you get a job. So.
Mr. Venturella, I have shared the packet of how to do well in an interview with several of my other friends. It's very beneficial. If you are going to do an interview and you're kind of freaking out, look at the packets that he has. Look at the instructional videos that we have on the camp website. They really do help. If you really don't know anything, which you know, you might not because we're all pretty young, we don't have a lot of jobs. Just look at the packets. the resources Mr. Venturella and Mr. Trainer and Mr. and Mrs. Werner and everyone else in the camp building gives us are very beneficial, whether we even know that we have them or not. They're there, and I would say to use them. Okay, the next question is, okay, I'm just gonna answer this really quickly. What other types of jobs do they have at Freshmark? So if you are looking into internship with Freshmark, Chelsea, who's not here today, was in quality assurance, and she loved her job. It was really tedious for her, but by the end, she actually got to work in the plant, and she met a ton of people, and she really enjoyed it. For other college students, the marketing internship looks so cool. We can't do that yet because we're not in college, and that one actually requires you to be in that field. Only like even if you're about to go into it in college, you can do that. But they got to travel a lot, and they got paid to travel. My friends, and Joe Gabbard, he got to go to Indians games every week. He got to go to cities all over America. Got paid to fly. Got paid to go out and give out free hot dogs for people, because that's what Sugardale and Freshmark are all about. And so yeah, Freshmark has a lot of opportunities that are within it.
So let me just, 1 second. Tyler, tell this group what you did this summer.
So this summer I worked at Gavassi Vineyard as the vineyard caretaker. So what I did was I took care of 5 acres of grapes, and from the time they were pre-bloomed to all the way to where it harvest and pick them and process them to turning them into wine. And it was kind of difficult because it was like really intensive labor outside in the heat, and plus in the vineyard, if you've ever been there, they hold the vines hold in like moisture, so it's like 15, 20 degrees hotter than what is outside, so it's usually like 100, 110 degrees in there. And it's just really repetitive work, and but it's really interesting because I also got to work in the winery making wine and the process of doing that. And I also met another camp student who worked there, and it was really kind of, I don't know, made me feel more comfortable working there instead of not knowing anyone. And the people there were really nice.
Keaton also worked there, still works there, right? Okay. So that's a pretty cool job, right? So there are other opportunities, and I told you before, I generally have more jobs than I have students. And you'd say, how could that happen? Because you don't just hand them out. It's not like the snacks over there. It's not like go pick a snack. In this particular case, you have to earn the snack, and you have to show us that, you know, that this is clearly what you want. Because if not, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for a couple of reasons. How long do you think, if I send students who are not reliable, I can't trust they're going to show up for work, I can't trust that they would follow the rules, dress properly, I can't trust that they wouldn't be calling off surprise days off, vacations, whatever. How long do you think our program would last? How many employers do you think would stay with us? The answer is 0. The reason I can send 4 students into Freshmark and just supply their profiles is because we have a reputation. We've been doing this for 6 or 7 years. These students are all top of Mr. Bruner's class. They are the top of the camp students. They are the most trusted individuals that we can send in there. West Medical, I golf with both of those doctors. They live with me right around the corner. The AWP, Mr. Sipek's on my operating committee. He's the CEO. In Freshmark, Mr. Craner is the CEO. I golf with him. Mr. Myers, head of human resources at Timken. Mr. McKim, head of finance at Goodyear. I know all of these people. The only way we're going to survive is that we go through this process, filter everything through, and the best of the best. As long as you're dedicated and you show Mr. Trenger and I, Mr. Bruno, that you're up to the task, we're going to do everything we can possible for you, including preparing you for interviews, helping you get transportation, figuring out, you know, if you need clothes for certain jobs, what we can do there. Everything from A to Z, as long as you're willing to put in the commitment. If you're not, you'll get out of camp as much as you would get out of camp. You know, there's only a couple ways to get out of camp. You kind of say, I want out, and we'll let you out, or you miss 3 absences in 12 months unexcused, and you're out, or your grades, or your behavior in Mr. Bruner's in the Peoria College High School are in question, and then he makes the decision to pull you out of camp. So that's the only way you can get out of camp after you're in. And, you know, if you think about it, there's 35 of you out of 360, so you represent less than 10% of Mr. Bruner's population. That's it. So you've already passed the biggest test, and now the rest of it is how much do you want to commit to, and then we'll help you. Does that make sense? Okay, let's do one more question. Okay, panel.
Was effective speaking beneficial when you had to present information to your employees? I would say most definitely yes, it was beneficial. Also, the classes we have here, college courses we have, a lot of us have already taken, we already are familiar how to speak with an audience and how to conduct ourselves. So that was a plus. I'm just a natural, I can naturally just talk, so it wasn't really hard for me. Also, at one point in time, I was in speech and debate, so I have a little background on how to talk, so that was, that's also helpful. So I have more of the, you know, you could say, experience when it comes to talking. But yeah, effective speaking was most definitely helpful. And if you already take it or took it already or taking it now, I will definitely make sure you take those key values that Professor Drugi teaches you and take those seriously because it does really help you.
I also found effective speaking very helpful. It really helped me organize my slides and put them together. It didn't really help me speaking because I still have my moments, as you can tell, and yeah, that's it.
I love speech and debate. Okay, I'm sorry. Speech and debate is very helpful for me. The effective speaking class was really helpful for me. Early college makes you do presentations. I would say overall, because a lot of us already had experience presenting, speaking-wise, just talking to people throughout the company was something to learn. Having to ask questions. If you're at a job where someone higher than you, especially someone who employs you, or just someone you're working with who's already been there, and you ask them a question, and they're offended or they don't want to talk to you, then that's not your fault at all. Don't think that. Don't ever be afraid to ask a question just because of a negative experience prior to that. You should always be open to be able to ask people questions because I feel like we're all young, we're all learning. That's what we're in school for, and that's what we do these internships and jobs for. You should be able to learn to ask as many questions as you need. And I think that's the biggest speaking thing that I took, and that I think most of us took from our jobs.
Effective speaking can't really help you not be nervous. You're gonna be, if you're a person who's gonna be nervous, that's gonna be nervous. I was super nervous to speak to 30 adults that are in charge of me, most of whom I've never met. I'm nervous right now, freaking out. Like, I don't like to give presentations to anybody. But it did help me figure out what was supposed to be in my presentation, how to keep presenting, even though I'm nervous, get the structure, and help me to be prepared. Because the only thing worse than being nervous and prepared is being nervous and not having any idea what you're supposed to say. If you already have a general idea of what you're supposed to do, that's definitely helpful in the first place, as opposed to just going in without a fantasy, you would be like, yeah, so I don't know what I'm supposed to say. It has zero qualifications to me. It's like, at least you have a groundwork to go on of, and that's very helpful to me.
I have a quick question, just generally. How many of you have jobs now? Okay. And how many of you had jobs throughout the summer also? Can you, like, without those jobs, even though, like, when you weren't on duty or when you weren't at your job, you have to admit that you were bored sometimes during the summer when you're just sitting at home. I know some summer jobs you work maybe only 3 to 10 hours a week, just because that's what they need you for, because it's a little job, but you're gonna be bored at home. I took 2 weeks off. We ended up having like 2 to 3 weeks before school started that I was super excited for, because I was like, I'm not gonna be working, I can spend the money I made. But I ended up getting really bored because I was used to going to work. So if you don't want to do the internship because you think it's gonna take away from your summer, you'd be surprised to see how bored you are when you don't have something to do. But then, when you do the internship, you show colleges and other businesses that you took the time out of your summer as a teenager, a young adult, who everyone so stereotypically thinks we are all immature and don't know what we're doing. When you show people that you do that, instead of just sitting at home being bored, not making money, it looks so much better on your resume. It makes you look better and more responsible as a person to adults. And then you have money in your pocket. And I think everyone in this room will agree, having money in your pocket is so much better than not having money in your pocket. And that's all I'd like to say. Amen. Thank you for coming.
Yes, Sarah, you're absolutely right. The resume that I hold up, well, I can hold up a bunch of camp students' resumes, but EJ is one of the ones that I use. EJ was at McKinley Grant, right? Working there for a while, but when you see the progression of EJ through Freshmark and Goodyear, when you look at Justine Chester from where Brianna is now in the spa at Glenmore, working her way through, and now she was at West Medical, and now she's at Malone University in admissions, going for a master's, which they are paying for. When you look at Daniel Tessu, who started out washing pots and pans in Glenmore in the kitchen, and where he progressed to in West Medical and what he's doing. So, look, the fact that you're working is fantastic, and I would keep that up. That's going to do nothing but good things for your resume, building your character, and learning skills. And let's face it, when you graduate college or whenever, and you're ready to look for a job, the only thing that the employer is going to want to know is, what can you do for me? That's it. Nothing else matters. I'm the hiring manager. It doesn't matter what job. Obstetrician, engineer, marble cutter, whatever it is. Okay? How does your skill sets match up with the job that I've posted and I'm looking for? Job is posted. It says these are the 10 things we're looking for in an individual. You match up well, there's a pretty good chance you're going to get the job. You don't match up, it's pretty tough. Then you combine things like interpersonal communication, which is extremely important. You guys talked about speech and debate. I would encourage you, I don't know if there's anything between effective speaking and speech and debate, but get as much as you possibly can, because I don't care what job you're in. If you're on the dock at Freshmark, or you're in West Medical with patients, or you're at the front desk at the spa in Glenmore, interpersonal communications is so important. I listed like 3 or 4. That was one of them. Teamwork, technical skills, which would be IT, and what are those are what employees call employee valued skills, and that's what they're looking for. So keep that mindset, okay? And think about that. Marcia, I know I asked you to do some questions. Is there any, I swear, I have 7 questions and they were all asked by these students, which is fantastic. Do you have any question that you want to ask?
No, I just want to say how impressive you are and what a fantastic future you have. I would just ask each one of you, though, to share a thought, a comment, one important skill or lesson or takeaway from the job you had this summer that you'd like to share with the group.
I could try. First thing I would want to say, don't let any of the things that we mentioned today like scare you or make you nervous. Like my job, it was the first year that we actually worked there. Well, I worked there, so it was a new experience, and some of the experiences weren't good. But I actually think those experiences made me a better person, because if I never experienced them, then I wouldn't know how to react to them in the future. So don't let a bad experience just ruin everything for you. You got to make the best out of it.
Okay. So I would say it's always important to be who you are, because you will go into certain situations and you're not used to, like I'm at a country club and that's not usually where I am, obviously, but always be who you are, because I learned that being who I am makes people interested in me and want to talk to me and learn more about me, and that's how I've made connections and like made friends. Like with a lot of the members there, they're offering me recommendations for jobs, for colleges and all these things. So always be who you are, even if you feel nervous and scared, just be you.
New experiences are helpful. They are nerve-wracking, but they will prepare you for the future. We now are all done with having to experience an internship, a job in a new place with only adults for the first time. And that's something everyone is going to have to do. Most of my friends who graduated college, just my older friends, they've never done that before. And now we're prepared. It gets you money, it gets you experience, it looks amazing on a resume, it keeps you from being bored all summer. And then it also helped my summer because then I enjoyed the time off that I had more. And I still thought I had more time. I would just say if you're scared to do it because you're nervous, or you're scared to do it because you're lazy and you don't think you have time, I'm so busy, so many of us are so busy, but you will have time and it will help you majorly at the end.
I would say that even though it has nothing to do with my career path, it was extremely helpful to me to know that I can handle an office job during all those years where I'm going to be at medical school. It's very helpful to have experience working in a professional environment and see, well, that wasn't the worst thing in the world. I can do that.
And there's no homework.
And that should mean you go to college and work a full-time job at the same time. If that's the case, easiest thing for me that I've ever done is map out your month on a calendar. I have all my classes, my homework schedule, and everything else on the weekends I have to do, and I cross off every day as I get to it, saying, I've done that, I've accomplished today, I'm good.
The biggest thing will be the relationships you build, the people you meet. Like at freshman, they love me, of course. So that was pretty cool, to have that relationship with them, and you, like you said, be yourself. Like I'm goofy, so me making people's days that will come home, come from like different backgrounds that will have struggles at home, and then come to work and enjoying the time, and then to actually say that made me actually happy. So that's the biggest thing. And the biggest thing I would took away from my freshman is it's not just a factory in me. There's so much that goes into it, and I learned so many details. So I wouldn't have known. It was just the way it is if I hadn't had my experience there. So you can always learn anytime, whenever you get a new experience or any job. So it's important to make sure you do try to work hard to get a job and always active in doing something to make yourself better.
I'd say just keep an open mind to learn new things. At Freshmark, they had different applications that I wasn't used to using. So that, having an open mind to learn it really made everything easier.
When you have a camp apprenticeship, you're assigned a job liaison from the operating committee. And that liaison follows you through the job for that summer. So every 2 weeks, that liaison calls your supervisor, wants to see how you're doing, is there anything we need to work on. They call you, they find out if everything's okay. We had one situation, we very rarely have any problems. We had one this year, and it was taken care of almost immediately. Senior management was extremely happy that it was brought up, and the person that it was against, not our student, but the person it was against was definitely breaking company policy, and it was stopped immediately. So those are the kinds of things. I don't want to wait 8 or 10 weeks to find out one of my students is showing up late, they're texting too much on the job. I want to know that right away so that we will address that right away, okay? Because that's not the way we operate. That's why the camp program is so successful for so many years. That's a standard that we will keep. And I think it helps you too to know that, because that's part of the discipline of doing this. I will end with that. I don't have anything more to offer. Mr. Tranga, anything? You good? Mr. Berner, you good?
Fine.
What's that?
Fine. I was going to brag on it, but I'll leave it alone.
Okay. All right, thank you. I hope this was worthwhile. I think you'll really enjoy the October session. We have the young professionals coming in. You're going to be doing career networking. You're going to have a chance to go around to how many different occupations? 6 different occupations and career, and talk to young leaders. These are generally under 40, right? Generally under 40 years old that work in Stark County and Canton. You'll be able to ask questions. Do they get the careers in advance? Do we let them know what the careers are in advance, so if they want to do any looking up or anything?
Sure, we can do.
Okay, let's do that. We'll send you the 6 careers. I would suggest you go on. If it's marketing, you heard somebody talk about marketing. My son's in marketing. Dunkin' Donuts, we do get Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Go on, look up marketing, see what aspects of the job are, what kind of skills are required. When you go around, get your questions ready. It's all in the interest of helping you find helping you be the best you can and find what you want, okay? Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
My stars on the podium, on the dais, thank you so much.
Give them a big round of applause. Give them a big round of applause.
I'm done, my sweetie. You're done?
Grab that. Super. Well, you start recording.